Hello friends, good morning and welcome to the new video of the Nukkadcode. And in this video we are going to learn about the encapsulation. As I had already told you in the previous video that we will be going to dive deep into the concept of encapsulation, polymorphism and inheritance. So now I am going to keep my promise and we are going to learn about encapsulation in this video. Okay, so let me write it here: encapsulation. Encapsulation. So before jumping directly to the definition of encapsulation and what is encapsulation, let me tell first of all think about why encapsulation was required in Java. What was the need? Why encapsulation came into existence for the Java? Okay, so let me show you a picture which will tell you a lot about encapsulation. So see here. Okay, I think you saw the picture and you read it well. So what was Sunny saying in the picture? She was saying that because of director's mistakes she was suffering and her private variables are being exposed to outside world. And you can see the expression of the character played by Ram. So you can see the how mischievous expression of that. So that is those bad developers who try to look into the code of others and they try to break the code. They try to access the data that is very important, and by mistake of the developer which was developing that code, he got the access to those important data and modifies it. Okay, so the character played by Ram is such type of developers. So you can see you can see the picture again. Okay, so let me come to the topic, that is encapsulation. Encapsulation, as you saw in the picture, with that, in relevance to that, encapsulation is securing your data that is important data. Okay, by means of two things, that is data hiding and abstraction. Okay, so in this video I am going to so in this video we are going to learn about data hiding. Abstraction is a vast topic and it is not good place to learn it here. I will deal with abstraction in a separate video with a lot of detail. Okay, so now let's see a developer who is just like director, who is making mistakes. So suppose here I have a class, this we are going to deal with this marker. So suppose I have a class marker, public, let me write it larger so that you can view here, public class marker, and in this class I have one instance variable, that is height of this marker. Okay, so I am making it public here, public int height, HEIGST, height. I am not writing the height of marker as variable, I am marking it as height. Okay, now suppose I have a test class, that is I am going to test this marker class. So I am having a class public class test marker, that is we are going to test about the marker. Okay, in this class we are going to have public static void main string x, and then suppose we are going to access this height. Okay, so to access the height, what we have to do, it is in a different class, it is in the marker class. So to access any instance variable or method of marker class, we have to create an object for marker. Okay, so let's create an object for marker here. Marker m is equal to new marker. Okay, so here we have our object of marker, and inside it we have HEIGST, that is height of the marker, and we have our instance variable m pointing to this. So to access this height, we have to use the dot operator. Okay, that is very important, dot operator. So I am writing here m dot this height, HEIGST is equal to suppose this height of this marker is 6 inch, then I write it as 6. Okay, now think of it, the height of this marker is 6, that is the object created will be, the marker object which will be created will have a height of 6. It is very okay till now. Now what happens, suppose there is a there is some developer which comes and makes this height as 0. What will happen? This height is 0. So that will be, I think, very problematic. Means we are going to have a marker with height 0, then what will we hold and how will we write? So this is an unrealistic scenario. Means this should not happen. This should not happen in our this object, that is marker object. This should not happen. The scenarios of like this should not happen. Then what? Then how will we avoid this type of thing? Okay. So think about it. Okay. So why this problem arises? Think of it. We are having here height and it is public. It is public. Okay. So what will be the problem? Anyone can access this height. Since it is public, anyone can go and make it 6 to 0, and that will be very problematic, because if another developer comes and if he want to access that height, then before earlier it was 6, then the new developer, suppose developer 1 made this height to 0, that is developer 1 makes its height to 0, then another developer comes and he sees and he's trying to access the height of this object. He is going to get, that is 7. Suppose he sets 7 value. Okay, he can set any value, he can set even 0. If if he is trying to get the value of height of the marker, then it is going to show 0, and that is a problematic scenario. How can we avoid this type of scenario? How can we restrict that height of this marker should not be less than 6 inches, and it should not be so much long that we cannot write? So suppose its height should be from 6 to 8 inches, that is considerable height of the marker. Then there is a concept in Java which is called setters and getters methods. So these methods are mainly to avoid such type of mistakes made by Java developers. So we have to do it. What we have to do, we have to make it private. Make it private, and we should always provide the getters and setters methods. Getters and setters method. Okay. So what are getters and setters methods? let's see. So status is nothing, just simply it is a method. So it is always status is nothing but it is a method private in height. So since we have made it the height as private, so it will not be accessible beyond this class. So to access and modify the height for height of the marker, we have to make a method which will be public. Okay, public. So the access modifier should be public so that it can get the height and set the height. So public void is that it will not return anything, set height. So h is capital in this case while converting to status. Generally you can write it here anything, but generally we write we follow the pattern, we follow the convention, and always we write set and we make this first letter as capital, set height, and suppose int h, and then inside it we write this height variable, that is instance variable height is equal to h. Okay, so this is our setter method, that is we are setting values of height with the help of this. Okay, and what about getter method? Getter method is simply to get the value set by the setter method. So the getter method is like this: public void, public not void, it is the type of int, that is the type of height is int, so it will be int. The same get and height, here it will be get, here it was set. So get height and simply we will return height, that is HIDST. So this is our getter method and this is our setter method. Okay, now think of this scenario. How will you restrict the height of marker from 6 to 8 inches here? Okay, so suppose in the same scenario where we were directly accessing the height variable, now we are in a different class, that is test marker, and the height object height instance variable is defined in marker class, so we cannot access height beyond this marker class. Okay, so let's see how we can access and modify the height of this and restrict the height. So here we are having the same m is equal to new marker m. Now we are going to call this method m dot set height, m dot set HEIGST, set height. Okay, if we pass here 0, then it is again going to have the height with 0. We are going to pass a 7 or 100, then it is going to have a marker with a height of 100 inches. So it is also so till now this method is not what we wish to have. It is not providing what we wish, what we want, that the height of the marker should be 6 to 8 inches. That is, it should be very easy to catch in and fit into our hands. So this is not working. So again, even after writing this method set height, we are not getting what we want to achieve. So to achieve that thing, we have to modify our setter method here. See, we will restrict our height. How will we restrict? If we will write it here as if height, that is this instance h, this value, the value of this variable, that is h, is greater than 6 and h is less than 8, not 8, 9. So okay. So think here, we want the height of the marker as greater than 6. So since it is integer, so we will have to make it 5, and height less is equal to 6 to 8 we want, so we have to write it as 9. Means greater than 5 means 6, 7, 8, and less than 9, that is 8, up to 8. Now if this is the condition, then return, then we have to set the value HEIGST is equal to H. So if we set here, set height is equal to H, and we will pass it here as 0. So when it will come to here, that is 0, then it will see that if H is greater than 5 or not. 0 is not greater than 5, so it will not produce the mark, it will not set the value of this as 0. Okay, so height of marker will not be 0. Now we have restricted our marker object, that is height of the marker, to 5 and 9. And to get this value and to get the height, we will simply write it here, m dot get height, and we will simply get the value of the height simply. Okay. So I think you got the clear idea of setter methods and getter methods, why they came into picture. They came into picture so that no one can publicly access the height, publicly access the instance variables and modify them. Here we are restricting this to set height. Okay. So you can write the benefit of why setter methods came into existence. Okay, so to modify and access, to modify the instance variables. Now think of a scenario. What will happen if someone, developer B1 comes and sets the height as 10? What will happen? He will come, it will set the height of, suppose he sets the height of 8. Then what will happen? The height of the marker will be 8. Okay, but it is not going to permanently change the height of this marker. Suppose the height of this marker was 7. So by default we are going to get the height of the marker as 7. We are not going to have the height of this marker as set by the last developer, because it is inside a method, and any changes which you make in a method are lost after the method is over. Okay, after its scope is over. So keep in mind that it will not affect the height of marker. If it is 8, then for one developer it will be what he sets. If he sets 6, it will be 6 for him, and the original height will be always 7, because we have set it as 7. Okay, so I think you got the concept of setter methods and getter methods. Now look back again to the same picture of Sunny Leone, and now you will understand the mistakes what the director made. The director made this mistake of making private this important variable private to public. Here he made this public. Okay, and that should not be done, because if you expose our data, that is, if we expose our data, then anyone can access and modify it, and that is not a good practice. So now I think you got the concept why setters and getters came into existence, and what are the harmful effect of leaving your data as public, that is, leaving your instance variables as public. Then how will you secure our data? Then how we are going to secure our data? By making it private. Okay, so the concept of making your data, that is this, your private from public to private, is known as data hiding. That is hiding the data. How you hide the data? That is securing your data. Okay, so let me write the concept here. Data hiding. So data hiding is hiding your data, that is securing your data from the outside world. securing your data from the outside world. And how do we do that? We do it by making our instance variable as private. Okay, so to hide the data, if you are having any instance variable in a class, as in the earlier example, in the marker case, we had height, and it was private. What was important? It was private. Okay, so if your instance variable is public in type, if your instance variable is public, then make it private and allow getters and setters. This way we secure our data so that other developers would not interrupt or modify our data in an unwanted condition. Okay, so now let's write the benefit of data hiding. Okay, so data hiding, what it does, first of all, mark all your public to private, mark all your instance variables as private, then provide getters and setters for to access and modify the data, that is instance variable. Okay, access for getters and modify setters, means with the help of setters you can modify the instance variable value, that is data, and we can get the data using the getters methods. So you got the concept of data hiding. Now let us conclude this video with by writing the benefits of encapsulation. What is the major benefit of encapsulation? The one of the major benefit that we all have is security. That is, our data is secure, and this is one of the best and major scenario, that is major benefit of encapsulation. Suppose in case of ATM, if we are not having security, then anyone can go take our ATM and get the money. Okay, so this is the major benefit of encapsulation, that is security. Now let me show you an interesting scenario, and you can see a picture here which I have for you. This picture is also of Sunny Leone, but Sunny Leone is draped in a beautiful pink sari. So what do you think? Is Sunny well encapsulated? Now I think yes, you are going to say yes, she is. Okay, so none of private variables, as in the previous picture, none of the private variables of Sunny are mistakenly made public by the director. Okay, so what do you think? Is she properly encapsulated? Yes. Yes, she is well encapsulated because all her private variables are private. Here is the scenario, one scenario that is I want to tell you, that is tightly encapsulated class. What is a tightly encapsulated class? So a tightly encapsulated class is a class in which all the instance variables are private. They are all accessed by getters and setters. So if suppose we have a suppose we have a class, and in that class we are having 10 instance variable, and all instance variables are private. So to access those and to modify them, those variables, we are providing getters and setters in that class. So this class is tightly encapsulated class, that is all the private variables are private, that is all the instance variables are private, just like Sunny Leone in this picture. She is tightly encapsulated. Okay, thank you. So this was all regarding encapsulation. I think you got the concept and you enjoyed it a lot. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you.